Hi guys. Hi
Hi,
guys.
Karen.
Hi Gail. Hi everybody. Happy Sunday. This is Karen here, your favorite virtual assistant. Today's live is gonna be a great one. We're gonna be you good girl.
I'm good. I'm
Technology,
good.
you gotta love
My
it.
phone, my phone. Yeah.
Don't worry.
Hi,
It's
everybody.
technology. No worries, no worries. It's technology. AI is taking over the world, girl.
It is.
So listen, today's live is one you do not want to miss. Okay, guess who we're gonna be talking? Guess who we're gonna be interviewing today? That
I
is
don't
my
know. I
co-host
don't have a guess.
Gail.
I can't even guess. Tell us, Karen.
It's all about my co-host Gail. I know you guys know her as we do Sunday Live together. You might even know her as a lady from Barbados. I don't know, right? But today we're gonna get more. We're gonna open the curtains. We're gonna let you guys into who she is, about her world, right? What else she got going on? It's a masterclass that she do have coming up. So, and Gail, before I even start the conversation, introduce yourself to the people out there.
Hello, everybody. My name is Gail. I am from the beautiful island of Barbados, as Karen said, and I am the CEO and the lead training consultant with Envision Training Solutions, and that is my business. We specialize in training. And what we do, one of our superpowers is that we take your raw educational material and we just transform it into engaging, exciting PowerPoint presentations, which we then share with your team so that everybody can learn, grow, and earn together. And that is it in a nutshell.
Okay, so there you guys hear who my her introductions to who she is. So now let's get into. We want to I want to respect everybody's time. So let's get into the conversation. Gail, let's start with how do you get into this entrepreneurship journey, right? For those who might not heard the story, let's talk about it. How did you start this journey? Was it something that you have planned, that you was like, you know what, I want to start a business. Let me figure out where I could start this, or this something that just happened? So how did you become an entrepreneur?
Well, to be honest, I did not want to become an entrepreneur per se. I had a
Mhm.
plan, and my plan was to continue to work at the company I was with. I was going to be there maybe for another 5, 6 years,
Mhm.
clear off my debts. And while I was doing that, see if I could find a side hustle, which when I retired, then would become, my main business. Unfortunately, my plan wasn't their plan. And then I
Right.
got severed in 2020 at the start of COVID. And I was lost and confused because I didn't have a plan. What I did initially was I started to do some learning. I wanted to educate myself a little more, especially in terms of training, because that's what I was doing. I was responsible for customer service training across the entire Caribbean, responsible for like 23 different countries.
Oh wow.
And there was a petroleum industry. So what I would do is, hop on a plane and I would go to each country. We'd do some training. And then, of course, we'd monitor, reinforce stuff like that. So as I loved training, and I like to teach people, I
Right.
decided I would upskill because most of my training at the time was face to face.
Mhm.
Now in COVID, we had to transition to online, like more virtual. So I took a year, did that, and all in between there, I'm still trying to figure out, okay, so what do I really want to do? Because we were closed, the island was on shutdown,
Right.
and there wasn't anybody I could really, update my CV and send my CV to. So I think because of a lot of different reasons, one of the main ones as well being at 55, ageism is a real thing. I don't know why people see us like when you're over 50, they see you as like old, you can't
Yeah, that's
contribute.
interesting.
They want younger people with a lot of energy who can, move and shake and but we still have a lot to contribute. So I
Yes.
found it was hard to get a job and then, did I really want to get a job and have somebody controlling my time?
Right.
Whereas, as a consultant, I have a little more flexibility. So after about a year, I decided I would bite the bullet, registered my company. It's called Envision Training Solutions. Notice I'm wearing my shirt today. It's
Yes.
called Envision Training Solutions because, and the N is the deliberate thing. It's two people. two little heads, and there's a connection in the middle with the end. Because I wanted people to see or envision training as a solution to most business issues. Like the onboarding is so important, mentoring
Yeah,
performance is
definitely.
important, the conversations and communication is important. So I decided I would go that route. So in a nutshell, that is how I started. Kind of shaky, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't planned. I think it's easier if you have a plan. I didn't have a plan. So I was kind of like, responding a lot and reacting a lot rather than being proactive. But I've survived and here I am today being interviewed by my co-host.
No, but it really speaks to your resilience, right? Because to be in a job for a long time and then to be
Mhm.
severed, it's traumatic because now you have to function. It's different if you say I'm gonna find another job because it's an actual plan. But
Yeah.
when you stubborn, especially the time that you were stubborn, right? It
Mhm.
speaks to your resilience, and you was able to figure out what else can I do to survive because it's about a survival thing, right?
It is. It is.
Um, and I would love to hear one, your challenges. How were you able to mentally? Your mental health was also, I'm sure, play a part in it. How were you able
Mhm.
to pivot your mind between employee mindset to entrepreneur mindset? How did that
Yeah.
look like for you, that transition?
Well, that transition was hard.
Mm.
Like we get excited when we become entrepreneurs because we are in charge of ourselves. We
Yeah,
can go to the supermarket on a Tuesday at 11. We don't have to ask for time off, and we could spend 3 hours somewhere and it's okay. But at the end of the day, the buck starts and stops with you. So it's not just a 9 to 5 for you. It is all day mostly because you have to do everything now, yourself. There's nobody to report to. You have to report to yourself. And
yeah,
I found sometimes that was challenging, trying to find that balance and trying to understand that at the end of the day, it is still a job. It might be a job that I love, but it's still a job. So you have to stick to the schedule. You have to get up. There are certain things you have to do. You still have to find time to balance your mental health, as you said. I think my mental health was really scary in the beginning when I first got severed because I thought I was losing my mind because you don't
yeah,
know. There's so much of the
yeah.
unknown and you're so anxious about the future because you didn't have a plan.
Right.
And interestingly enough, the more I share my story of how hard it was, now people want me to, come and share my story with their organization or with their church or with their club because so many people today are being severed or laid off
Yeah,
unexpectedly, and that's a global thing. So
yeah.
they want to learn, they want to know what have I learned and how can I help them be better prepared.
Yeah, I think that's a good conversation, especially in the times that we're in, because you had to do it, right? And the
Mhm.
difference between now and then is that you was in a time where everything was shut down. So you couldn't even look for a job. Like you couldn't even if you applied, nobody gonna respond to you, right? So you
Mhm.
had to wait
Yeah,
like
yeah.
2, 3 years to even get a response. So that just highlights, a conversation that's needed at this moment. How did you make this to the other side?
Mhm.
And I find that interesting because people when they first get laid off, I understand that you struggle, you're trying to figure it out. You're responsible for kids, for rent, for mortgage, whatever else you got responsible for. So I think it would be a valuable conversation for people just to connect with you if they want to know more about this transitional period. But let's
Mhm.
talk about your business a little bit because I know you say you train people. I think training is important, and I think the training when I used to it was boring, right? Training was you sit there, you listen, you don't really ask questions maybe to the end, right?
Mhm.
So let's speak a little bit about your business when it comes to the training aspect. How did this what service do you offer? What is a client or a person who's interested? How does that training look like for their corporation, right?
Mhm. Well, the first thing is that I am not, my training is not for everybody and everybody's not for
Hmm.
me, if I could say it that way. I am working with people who are leaders who have a growth mindset. So they don't only want to grow themselves, but they want their team to grow. And when people hear the word training, Karen, it's exactly what you say. They think it's boring. It's
Yep.
one more thing my boss is forcing me to do. I really don't want to be here. But to break it down, training is as simple as if you're a parent and you're training your child to brush their teeth properly, put on their shoes, untie their laces, how to put on their shirts, how to interact with people, say good morning. All of that is training.
Yeah,
We
that's
just
true.
don't see it as training.
Yeah,
And training involves learning, and learning involves development. So, you hear people talking a lot about L&D, learning and
yeah.
development. I
Hmm.
try to stay away from the terms because people hear training and they break out in hypes. That is not my goal. My goal is to sit with you, find out, okay, what is the behavior you want to see from your team?
Hmm.
Where are the missing links? Like, what are the skills gaps? How can we close those gaps so that everybody works more efficiently? They know their job better, because that's what we need to do. We need to know the steps involved in our jobs. What material do you have to support this learning? Do you have handouts? Do you have documents? What do you have? And then after we do the training, how are you going to reinforce it? Because when I train your team and you pay me and I leave, it still has to be reinforced. You have to make sure people are applying this knowledge now every day to their job. So it's a whole big process, and I
Yeah,
love it. Sometimes the challenge is trying to get people to understand why it's so important. We expect people to learn stuff by osmosis. I look
yeah,
at you, Karen, and you get to know, okay, this is how Gail runs her business, or this is how to make a cup of coffee. But you haven't given me the steps. You know how I mean? Like, for me, boil the water. I know you probably have a percolator. Boil the water.
right, right,
Run it, but put a spoon of coffee into the cup. Add water. Add milk, stir it, and
right.
then but we don't give people the information they need to do a good job. And
Yeah,
then when they don't do a good job, hell breaks loose. And it's worse in customer service.
yes.
Customer service is my main superpower. I train people and their teams on customer service, and that has a lot of moving parts. And I want people to remember as well, when you get bad customer service somewhere, I don't think it's because the person you're interacting with deliberately wants to offer you bad customer service. I think it's because of a lot of stuff going on in the background, which normally leads back to the leader, meaning you may not have given me resources. So if I'm in a restaurant and I keep running out of stuff, that's not me, your server, or the person taking the order. That's the person ordering the inventory. But
Yeah,
I am getting the slack or the
yeah.
flack from the customer because I am the person interacting. So I might not have enough inventory, I may not have been trained, I may not, so many things I may not know that leads to bad customer service. So it's been an uphill battle to get people to understand that, but I still love it. I'm still passionate about customer service, and I'm passionate about people working in retail, especially because they get a lot of lashes,
Hmm.
and sometimes we don't treat them with the respect that they deserve to be treated with.
No, I mean that's true, especially when it comes to customer service and being the person in the front end, right? But then also, it also things. Another question that came to my mind is when you come in there and you train, right? You coming into a corporation, people, the employees sometimes have their own. They used to bad mannerisms, right?
Mhm.
So when they
Mhm.
right they used to this certain bad mannerism in talking to customers or dealing with potential customers, and when somebody new comes in, sometimes they could be like, "Well, who this is? What's she gonna teach me?" Like,
Correct.
so
Correct.
how do you
Correct.
navigate those areas? Like, especially the support system should be the person that's hiring you or the
Yes.
manager. That should be your support system to employees who may be a little disgruntled, right? Because somebody new is coming to teach them, like they say, something new. So how do
Mhm.
you handle those employees who's disgruntled, who's like resistant to your training, and they come everything you say is a question after question to try to knit? Because I know I could just imagine that's part of the job too, right? Part of that comes with what you do, dealing with employees that are disgruntled for whatever reason they might be disgruntled. How do you deal with those type of employees? Because girl, you got to have a whole lot of patience.
Yes, I have a whole lot of patience, but I try to preempt that in my first conversation with the person who wants me to facilitate the training for them. So that might be the CEO, that might be the
Right,
department manager, and that is why that first conversation is so important. So, like, what is your team not doing? What do you
right,
want them to be doing? What do you want me to train them to do for you? But before I even get there, you need to have a conversation with your team and say, um, okay, people, we're having this training for these reasons by this person, you know, and you need to participate. And you need to get
yes,
people on board, because before you get there as well, you need to figure out if there are what I call barriers to training. So barriers to training are things that you as the CEO may not think about. It could be you're not paying them enough money, you're not creating a safe
Right.
psychological space for people to share their opinions
Yep.
or talk about, you don't treat people with respect. There's so many things, right? And then, so you're treating me like crap as an
Yeah.
individual in your company, as an employee, and then you want to give me training. Do you think I really care about your training? I'm going to come, I'm going to sit there, I'm going to be bored, I'm going to doodle on a notepad, I'm not going to participate, and I'm going to give Gail so much grief, right?
Yep.
But that's because you haven't sorted yourself out in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And that is why these conversations before the training are so very important, because you don't want to pay me. I'll take your money. I'll take your money. But you don't want to pay me without making sure I can get you some kind of ROI on your investment. And training
Right.
is an investment. It's not a
I
cost.
agree.
It's not
It's an
something that is
investment.
detracting from your bottom line. It is an investment in your people. And if you do it right, it's like, Karen, you know how to brush your teeth. You will always know how to brush your teeth.
Yep.
You will always know how to put on your clothes. You will always know how to be respectful, because that's how you have been trained. And as
Yeah.
long as you train people right, they will always remember the life lessons. And a lot of training can also be applied to your general life. Respect
Yeah.
is respect.
Respect. Yeah.
Doing a
That's
good
true.
job is doing a good job. And doing a good job is not only in your office. Doing a good job could be how you vacuum your house, how you clean your windows, how you cook your food, how you clean up afterwards. Training is lifelong and it's learning, and we are always learning. So yes, when I get to the stage of having that difficult participant, I normally set up my training though to get people to work together. So yes, I would present my stuff in the beginning and we get conversation going, but then you have to sit with somebody sometimes and have a conversation. Let's discuss it. So this is the question on the board. This is what's on the table. Sit with your person or your team, your group, and have a conversation.
Yeah.
And we also try to have fun activities where we get to, like break the ice, which is kind of cliche because people don't like icebreakers, but let's have some fun, because you can learn and you can still have fun at the same
Oh
time.
yes, I agree.
And let's have a conversation. For me, is about the conversation, and I tell them up front, my people that I'm training, this is not about me. Yes, I have material to share with you, but this is about you. So let's have a conversation about you and what is really going on with you in your job. What do you like the most? What do you hate?
Right.
What do you want to do differently? How can we help you with this training do that differently, and let everybody survive to see another day? Because as you know, the retail industry and customer service is not easy.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I did it. I did it when I was younger, so I know it's not easy. And just customer service across the board. It's because you're dealing with humans, right? Other humans' perspective, their story. Maybe they had an interaction with somebody else, a bad interaction. So that comes on to the next person that they speak to. But I think
Mhm.
not only just bring it to your point when it comes to training. Somebody, I think it would be wise to this employee who might be disgruntled for whatever reason, take the training, right? Learn from it. And if you choose to take it someplace else, then at least you have that training. You have that part of your skill set. So I think training is like you just mentioned, it's an everyday thing. It helps you in just every areas of your life.
Mhm.
So I think
Mhm.
it's a good point to what you just stated. So let's talk about. Can you give me an overview on who is your client, right? Who should be contacting you that need training, and and I would love to hear too. What do you love about? Because I can see the joy in what you do. You brighten when you talk about it. So I would love to know more too. What else do you like? That what else do you enjoy and you love about what you do?
I love meeting people, and everybody has a story. And as you know,
Yeah.
I can talk and talk and talk, but I can also listen. So I
Right.
love to ask questions. Tell me a little bit more about what you do, what you love. Just tell me. And I can ask a question after question after question, because that's how you really get to know people.
Yeah.
And I think one of the other things I've realized, and I know I mentioned it earlier, but I didn't qualify, where I said I like to focus on people in retail.
Hmm.
But if you remember, we did a live about 2 years ago where we talked about the fact that customer service does not only apply to retail. So
Yes.
if you are a doctor running an office, a dentist, anybody who is interfacing with a customer, that person needs to be aware of customer service. And sometimes you go into the doctor's office, like I had an appointment the other day and everybody was running late. it wasn't a doctor's office, it was another office. Nobody said, and I was on time. Nobody said, "Well, thanks for being on time. We're running a little late. Just hold on, we'll be right with you." I
Right.
sat there for 10 minutes and then they said, "Oh, Karen is running a little late. She'll be right with you." And I
Hmm.
waited for half an hour, Karen. Nothing, crickets. And I just picked up my bag and I said, "You know what? I'll have to reschedule." And I'm just saying communication, communication,
Wow.
or
Yeah.
call me at home too before I leave. I'm kill
Right.
myself to get there on time. So it tends to suggest, no, you're not respectful of my time. But I
Right.
use that example to say that all of these little moving parts combine to create customer service. You should never take your customers for granted because we have options. We can take our business elsewhere.
Yep.
And you need to train your team to understand that. And there needs to be some kind of consequence management, meaning what happens usually is that no matter how I treat the customer, meaning I could just be on the border. It's not a big deal where the customer will complain to my boss, right? I could treat you minimally disrespectfully, but I'm still going to get paid. If
Right.
I'm not in sales, I'm not driving sales, I'm going to get paid. If
Yep.
I'm a receptionist, a secretary, whatever other role, I am going to get paid, regardless of how I treat the external customers, and worse yet, how I treat my internal customers, because I might figure, oh, Karen is on my team. I really don't care.
Yeah.
She's not somebody from the outside. So I could treat her anyway I want, but treat the external person better.
That's
So it's
true.
all of these things we need to
Yeah.
take into
That's true.
consideration. So my passion really is to get people to understand customer service is not static. It involves a lot of different things. It involves things like communication, team building, leadership, because you need to know how to lead yourself before you could even lead others
Hmm.
and lead your job, and of course look after your mental health. And I think in the beginning, especially when I first got severed, that was my mental health was really bad, and you need to put yourself first. I know people are tired of hearing put your mask on first before you put on somebody else's mask, but we say that for a reason. If
Right.
you can't look after yourself and be try to be a good whole person, then you have a broken person trying to help another broken person.
Yeah.
So you
That's
have two
true.
broken people together trying to figure things out. And that doesn't always work how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's true. That's a good point as far as just two people, right? Put on your mask first to help somebody else. And I think that should be the common theme for people when it
Hmm.
comes to dealing with just with people in general, right?
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you brought up the point as far as um having people interact between the internal and the external people because that happens a lot. They treat their staff member or their coworkers a certain way, but then because they know it's a paid job, they'll treat the customers better. But I think that should be homogeneous. Everybody should be treated nicely. Everybody should be treated kindly, I should say, not nicely, right?
Mhm.
Everybody
Mhm.
deserves that level of respect, regardless whether I work with you or I don't work with you. It
Mhm.
shouldn't be respect and kindness shouldn't be based on transactional or because I'm getting paid, I'm gonna be nice to you now.
Yeah,
But
or who you are. It shouldn't be
it,
based on who
yeah,
you are, you know.
yeah,
It should be you should treat everybody the same, respectful, kind way. And one of the reasons to that it doesn't always work the way it should is because we haven't taken the time to train our team to understand how every person fits into the bigger picture. How
yes.
is Karen's role important? How does her role affect my role? And then how
Hmm.
does my role affect somebody else? Why do we really need to work together to make sure things are done on time and efficiently, and so we don't have to do the same thing two or three times,
Right.
to communicate properly, especially if there's a change, because people talk about flexibility and adaptability, but the missing part why we don't do a good job, there's no communication. So I
Mhm.
can't flex, I can't adapt because you didn't tell me until the 11th hour. Then I run around like a chicken without a head, and I hate scrambling. I tell people scrambling is for eggs. I
Not
don't
for
do that
eggs.
scrambling thing well. I don't even really like eggs, but fine.
I'm gonna use that one.
Scrambling is for eggs, and I don't do
Yes,
that egg thing.
yes.
Like, why are we scrambling? Couldn't you just have told us before what we needed to do so we could have planned?
No,
But
yeah.
that's just me.
Yeah, no, but I agree. And I'm glad that you brought up who you serve, right? Because I think people assume that customer service just apply to one particular industry, but customer
Hmm.
service applies to every industry. I don't care what industry you are in, unless you're dealing with robots,
Yeah.
right? That it doesn't apply to you. But as long as you have customer service and you have customers, then
Mhm.
obviously training is required, right? Um, Effective communication is required. How do you see your business goals, right? How do you want your customers to be treated? I think that's even more important. And I think
Yeah.
training helps in that, right? Having just not only that, carrying just past the training. Yeah, you coming in to help for a certain amount of time, but what happens after you leave, right? How do they continue that?
I can tell you what happens after I leave. Nothing. In most cases, nothing. And I hate to disappoint people that actually attend the training session, because what happens is we do the training. Everybody has a fantastic time. They're engaged and they leave the room excited and ready to be different. And then they go into the same toxic environment sometimes that they've just come from the very next day, and nothing has changed.
But
Nothing
what
has
is
changed. What has changed?
that's
Nothing.
interesting,
Nothing.
but
It's so sad. It is sad.
that's interesting because then that means that whoever the person did continue the process, because training, it doesn't stop once the training while you in training, right? The real effectiveness of training, I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is after you're gone,
Yeah.
right? Right?
Yeah.
Continue what it
Yeah.
is they learn, right?
Mhm.
The tools that you provided to them, to continue using those tools day after day after day after day. I think
Mhm.
that's when the real effectiveness of the training take place. But that also speaks to the person, because once you're gone, you're gone. But whoever's there, they have to continue that. They have to set that bar to say, okay, we had the training. I want you guys to apply what you have learned from this training.
Mhm.
So I
And you
think
made a good point about the tools. There's a lot of tools, and tools don't have to be like complicated. You could do
right,
your training and you could give somebody a checklist to
right,
check themselves to see how they're doing.
right.
Questions, okay, let's ask ourselves these questions to make sure we're on track. Make sure the manager has, one-on-one coaching sessions to make sure his team is doing what they're supposed to be doing. There's so many little things people can do. And what I've started including in my training packages now would be refresher sessions, because you should always have a
Mhm.
refresher
Oh,
session. So
yes.
when you contract me, it's not only to do the training
Mhm.
today, but in another 2 to 3 months, I will come back and do some refresher training, see where we are.
Okay.
I also make sure to include feedback forms after the first session so that I can see, okay, how people felt, where do they want to go for the future, kind of thing. And then when we meet back up, how have you been doing? Where are you now? What do you want us to do differently? But sometimes the missing link could be the fact that I am trying to, be that person, but on the ground in the company, that person is not there, because I can't
Mhm.
clone myself. I wish I
Yeah,
could.
yeah.
And I think the next thing would be for us to consider is the mentality that people feel training is the answer to all world issues. It is not. It will help, but as I said, if there are barriers to training and there are underlying issues that you haven't solved, we could train and train and train. It's not gonna change anything,
Hmm.
because you may not be paying me. You may not be treating me with respect. Those things are fundamental things that come before training that you need to have covered.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that is, I mean, it's very interesting that you mentioned that, because in my mind, I would have thought, okay, they're going to apply what they learned after the training.
Why
So,
should they? But why should they? If you don't
I,
encourage them, why should they? They're
I
not
mean,
paying
I
for the
mean, that's the
training, if you see
thing.
what I mean. And I'm not paying for the training. My boss sending me, but
But
peace
then
out.
that speaks to the boss. That speaks to the person that's hiring, right? Because
Mhm. Mhm.
regardless of what, I think that yeah, they're paying you to apply a certain amount of tools to them. But then whoever is that sitting there, maybe I'm the CEO, maybe I'm not sitting there. But if I have a manager and a supervisor whom I'm paying, I expect them to continue this, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's an interesting thing that you just mentioned that. But
Yeah.
you
And
know,
before we move on, Karen, I just realized I didn't really answer your question. Like,
oh,
if it's
sure.
somebody that, if I'm going into an organization and people are actually resistant, or it could be their culture.
Mhm.
So one of the things I actually do as well is I now have a training program or presentation that speaks to the connection between customer service and culture, because customer service,
Mhm.
it has a lot to do with our culture. So
That's
like
interesting.
overseas, sorry, in North America, I keep saying overseas because I'm here in the Caribbean. Overseas, you love saying, good morning, how may I help you? Did and as a Caribbean person, I know that that's what you do, and I respond. In the Caribbean, no, that may not be us. Somebody may come up to me in the store as soon as I
Mm.
get there. Hi, good morning. Can I help you today? Just looking, just looking. In other words, like leave me, just leave me. But your culture, how you are raised and the environment you are raised in, which is your culture, has a lot to do with how you serve people.
That
you
is
know,
so
and
interesting.
yes, and how you serve people at Kentucky here in Barbados, sorry to call a name, is
No,
not
no,
the
that's fine.
same as the Kentucky service you probably get overseas or Starbucks or any of those other brands.
That is so
Our
interesting.
goal is
I
to
didn't
get
know that.
there, but
That's a good point.
our culture
Yeah,
sometimes
that's a
prevents
good point,
us.
Gail.
Yeah, it's culture.
Mhm.
Culture has a lot to do with it. So, for example, here in the Caribbean, we love saying, as soon as you come in on a morning, you say, "Hi, Karen, good morning," whatever it is. And then somebody from North America may come and walk right past you in the morning and say nothing. And we think, crap, that person has no manners. But
Mhm.
it's not their culture. Their culture is not to go around and say good morning to every single body that they see. It's
Just
not them. So they don't mean it personally. You're not to take it personally. It's just their culture. If that makes sense.
no, it does. Especially you from New York, honey. You gonna get a lot of
Oh
that.
yeah, and New York, yeah, y'all rough.
Not
Y'all rough,
everybody say
boy.
good morning. Yeah, yeah. Not
Y'all
everybody
be
in New
rough.
York say good morning. No,
Correct.
that. I see. I see. That's a good point. That is true because in New York, not everybody say good morning, right? Some people look at you and oh don't stare at it's so
Yeah,
cultural, and I think
yeah.
that's a
It's
very good
cultural.
point when it
Yeah,
comes to customer service and culture.
yeah,
So that's good. I think that person have to be culturally competent, right? Or as
yeah,
to understand
yeah,
that also has a plays a part when it comes to
yeah.
how they treat other people.
And it goes back to your other point because you could come into a business that had a maybe a negative culture, for lack of a better way of describing it,
Mhm.
and now you decide, okay, you know what, we need to work on our culture and change it and make it more positive. That's going to be hard, but it can still be done.
Oh
But
yeah.
you need the leader to lead it and say,
Yes.
okay, this is
Mhm.
what we're aiming towards. This is what we're going to be doing. We're bringing in somebody to help with the process, and this is how we're going to support you along the way. Because culture can be changed. It's hard. It's hard, especially if the person is older and they've been doing the same thing for 20 years and they look at you
Mhm.
cross-eyed and say, "Well, you got to be kidding me. There's no way." But it can be done. I like challenges, not a lot. I just don't do the scrambling well, but it can be done.
No, that's oh my god. This segment alone could be a whole conversation just
It could
because
be. Told you
it's
I
a
love
lot.
talking.
Yeah,
This
it's
was
a
your
lot that
idea.
goes into it. It definitely is. And just but I'm gonna leave it here because it's gonna be no whole nother.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your master class. I know you have an upcoming master class. Let's talk about it. Who, like, when is it? What day? What time? Who is it for? What they're gonna be learning? Talk to us
Yes.
about this. The
Well,
master
actually, I am co-hosting a
okay.
free webinar. We're starting with a free webinar first.
A
It's
webinar.
on May the 19th, which is Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And my co-host, Marcia Armstrong, she's a personal financial strategist and coach. We're talking about life after layoff. I know that kind of sounds, I keep saying it sounds negative-ish, but not really. We're talking about life after layoff so that you can be better prepared when it comes to your career, your finances, your mental health before you are laid off. So this is for you if you are afraid your name might happen to be on a mass layoff list. If you are close to retirement but you're not sure what your options are, you might have family commitments that anything that might jump out at you unexpectedly. We want to just help you talk about that while you have a job so that you can start to put some things in place. So that's first, and then after that we're going to be having Marcy and I, we're going to be having a master class as well, but we're still working out the details.
Okay.
And other than that, it's just my normal stuff. Training, if you're interested in having your team trained in customer service, communication, leadership, team building, it's a package. Just reach out to me. Karen is going to drop my website in the comments. I am very active on LinkedIn, so you can just send me a DM as well. And what we do, we'll have a conversation first, and then you're going to fill out your training needs analysis for me. Tell me exactly what you need, what you want to see, so that I can make sure I meet your goals and objectives, and then we will go from there, set up the training, have some refresher training. We're going to have fun. And yeah, that's how it is. I haven't had anybody yet, give me very negative feedback about any training sessions. People are so busy having fun. I just hope that when they leave, they remember, okay, we had fun. Got to go away
Right.
and do some
Right.
work. But my goal is to make training painless and engaging, and so people have fun but understand how it's connected to their job and their daily life in a
Yeah.
nutshell.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, listen. I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna be there for the for the webinar. But I mean, just speaking on layoff, I think it's about being prepared, right? Like not.
Hmm.
You know how they say, like I had a like when it comes to the example CPR. It's about having the tool before it happens, right? Don't wait
Yeah.
till things that happen and then you're like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? But if you already had the webinar, you kind of if it does happen, right? Nobody want to be laid off, but if that did occur, you kind of already have an idea of okay, I had this webinar. This is
Hmm.
what I learned.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
apply this tool. Let me think about what else can I do next. Um,
Hmm.
so I think it's just anybody, right? It's
Yeah.
anybody should actually
Yeah.
want to join just to learn and have the tools in
Yeah.
case this is your
Yes,
circumstances.
in case. And if you were thinking of having a side hustle or being an entrepreneur,
There
there's
you go.
so many things, Karen, you and I know we learned that the
Yeah,
hard way.
yes.
There's so many things you need to consider before you make that jump. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about some of the things you need to be aware of. Like it's okay for you to love baking. Do you have anybody who really wants to buy your cakes?
Are you good at
Are
baking?
are you good at baking? Do
Because
you have
that.
10 other million people selling cakes just like you? There's so many things. So
Hmm.
we want to have those conversations, help people sit down, ask themselves some hard questions, and then have a plan. Our goal is because remember it wasn't raining when Noah built the ark. He was
That's
building, 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 and people were laughing, but then the rains came and he was good.
that's a
That's
very
our
good
goal.
point.
Our goal is to help you build your ark so that when the rain comes, it doesn't matter when the rain comes, you're ready.
You're ready, right? And I think that's. I hope that people take away this point, which you just stated,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because join the masterclass. I put the link in the comments section. I'm going to repost this tomorrow. Just people, just to just put the link. Whoever might have not gotten the link today, I don't know why, but you never know. But so I'm going to repost it again tomorrow, just because I want people to join the webinar. I think it's important to just have the tools before things happen.
Mm-hmm.
What is your next step, and in a
Yeah.
bad circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
So, in closing, Gail, any last words for people to take away for today? What do you want people to go with for today?
I want people to go away with the fact that you are never too old to start something new, and it's never too late to start something new. I
Yeah,
thought I was too old and I thought it was too late, and it never is. Things happen in life for a reason. You may not understand the
yeah,
reason when you're going through it. And as I learned, this too shall pass. And I keep
yeah.
saying it might pass like a kidney stone. It may take long, it might hurt a lot, but it will pass. Surround yourself with people who can support you while you're going through the journey. And Karen has been an amazing support. You need somebody you can talk to, bounce things off of, so that you're not in this alone. And things will work out. And there's nothing wrong to if entrepreneurial journeys are not for you, there's nothing wrong with walking
Right.
away. If you don't love your job and people are stressing you, there's nothing wrong with resigning. All I'm
Yeah.
saying is have a plan.
Yep.
Have a plan before you resign and walk away. Have a plan before
Yeah.
you jump into entrepreneurship. Have a plan.
There you go, guys. I hope you guys took some great nuggets for today. I hope you guys got to learn more about Gail, right? Her business, her journey, and her upcoming masterclass. Once again, the link is in the comment section for the masterclass, for LinkedIn, her website. If you're a business owner who needs customer service training for your staff members, okay. So thank you for everybody showing up today. I appreciate it. And if you're watching the replay, please put replay in the comment section and follow Gail. Okay.
Yeah. Follow Karen too.
Okay. Yes, guys. Oh wait. You see how this internet trying to do me today. They don't want to let you go, Gail. Bye, guys.
Bye.